My name is Karen Groen, and I am Global Director for Gender at the World Bank Group. And I am delighted to welcome everybody to join this year's exciting announcement of the winners of the SDGs and Her competition. The World Bank, in partnership with UNDP, UN Women, and the Wharton School Zicklin Center, has come together in this competition that has run since 2018, which is to support women entrepreneurs globally to grow and thrive in their businesses while they help to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. I'm so pleased that our 7 winners this year were chosen to represent every region of the globe. This year was highly competitive as in the past, and we had over 2,400 applicants from all over the world. This is fantastic to see this growth from the time that we started this program a few years ago. Our winners today were chosen for their incredible achievements towards the SDGs, but I have to say that their achievements come in light of the COVID-19 pandemic, and they illustrate a determination to thrive and survive despite the crisis. And I have to say that this really highlights their adaptive capacity as entrepreneurs and as leaders in their field. It's important to note that women entrepreneurs are actually disproportionately affected by the economic crisis, along with the pandemic. There are many gender differentials that we know around the world, and I have to compliment UN Women and UNDP for the new policy tracker that they launched earlier this week. In addition to that, data from the World Bank and the IFC, in collaboration with Facebook and others, show that globally female-owned firms are about 6 percentage points more likely to have closed their businesses than male-owned firms. And this takes into account regional attributes. Lockdowns in many countries have hurt women-owned firms more than male-owned firms, and women are slower to return to operations because of liquidity and other constraints. Despite these challenges, women who are shining light on the potential to address challenges facing everybody through their innovation and their entrepreneurship. So I'm particularly excited to meet them all and learn about their work. But before we go to our speakers, I'd like to ask my colleagues to play a short video that shows how our winners are supporting a resilient recovery.
Our one-stop digital telehealth platform brings COVID consultation, testing, and remote care directly to the patient's home. Online screening and testing can be made available to everyone, everywhere. And we have been able to use our platform to support Nigeria's national pandemic response to COVID because we believe first-class healthcare should be available to all.
From economic crisis to the COVID-19 pandemic, we know that resilience is the cornerstone of our business model. When COVID-19 hit, we launched the project Hope Boxes to provide basic food supplies to people in need. The pandemic proved that the global food system is very fragile, and supporting the local production is the only sustainable way to feed our future.
We have helped the government's national COVID helpline by integrating doctors, trained healthcare professionals and doctors to triage over 5 million calls with various different questions regarding treatment, national resources, misinformation causing scare and panic.
The biggest challenge for me this COVID-19 in my work has been the fact that our clients can't come through physically to our offices to access our mental health services. And I'm responding to this challenge by the fact that we have taken advantage of digital platforms and virtualized all our sessions and are now conducting our sessions online. So this has worked well on the part of our clients who, in terms of convenience, don't have to leave their home, and it's also cost effective, and we're able to handle and carry out all our services online.
We know that education inequalities will be heightened during the COVID-19 pandemic. Remote learning is a distant option for many, but it has never been more important to learn how to protect our environment. Our Pay As You Wish campaign brings educational board game more young people. Building a more resilient tomorrow means equipping our children with the skills and knowledge needed to protect our world.
Our communities is more restricted than ever during COVID-19 pandemic. But as a tech entrepreneurs, our business thrives, giving men and women the opportunity to work remotely and flexibly. Our learning and digital training program enable people to learn.
When COVID-19 pandemic started, we knew it. Girls and women were going to be among the most vulnerable groups hit by this crisis. This is why we created our leadership training programs, our digital programs and storytelling workshops to equip women with all the skills and networks that they need to thrive in businesses. We make sure no woman is left behind despite a crisis like the one that we're living.
We're going to be able to hear from these incredible women leaders in just a few minutes. Their commitment is so evident from the videos we saw. I'd like first, though, to welcome Mari Pangestu, who's Managing Director of Development Policy and Partnerships at the World Bank, to deliver welcoming remarks.
Thank you, Karen. Good morning, good day to everyone. It's my great pleasure to open today's event and celebrate the global winners of the SDGs and Her competition. I'm pleased to be joined by Akim and Pumsilai and George, I hope I've pronounced all your names right, to recognize the 2020 SDGs and Her winners today. We salute the achievements of these amazing women from around the world. I think the video we just saw was very, very inspiring. And it's really, I think, a test of how we can have resilience as we are facing the pandemic. And let's take a moment to reflect on the differential impact of the pandemic it has had on women, as Karen has already pointed out. But just to say that the COVID-19 has hit developing countries hard and threatens to reverse decades of development progress. And it is having a differential impact on women, whether it's the fact that 70% of health workers are women, whether women, because of the situation, have to stay home, look after children, and then not be able to work, as well as being exposed to gender-based violence. And Karen mentioned about the effect on women-led businesses, which are amongst the hardest hit. She mentioned a number that 6% are more likely to be shut down. And corporate pulse surveys that are being done also at the bank show that around 30%, despite some closing down and losing their incomes and so on, about 20 or 30% are adjusting by adopting digital technologies. Other data show that women are less able to adapt to these technologies. So these trends worsen the existing barriers to women's entrepreneurship, including lack of access to finance, markets, networks, and information. That's why in designing our response to pandemic, and thank you also to all our partners, the gender lens is key. And given the event today, I want to share what the World Bank Group is doing to support women's economic empowerment and entrepreneurship. The World Bank Group's private sector arm, IFC, supports women-led businesses in a number of areas, including by financial institutions, to help women-led businesses address liquidity constraints, support the digitization of women-led businesses through its Digital to Equal program. And given what I just said about the fact that women are less able to adapt technologically, this is a very important program. And connecting women-led businesses to corporate buyers. We also have a Women Entrepreneurs Finance Initiative, or WeFi, in partnership with others to support women in developing countries, and the Secretariat is housed in the World Bank. To date, we have allocated about $300 million across 30 countries to programs that help knock down barriers facing women entrepreneurs. And we know that addressing women and ensuring gender equality is not just about empowerment of women for their own right, but that empowering women also helps us to achieve the other SDG goals. So empowering women powers the SDGs. And we know, there are many examples like ensuring that financial access for women can lead to greater spending, such as, for example, on health and education and so on. So initiatives like the SDG and Her provide really, really wonderful glimpses as we just saw on the video, that reminds us of the incredible efforts and amazing bravery of women entrepreneurs around the world who are promoting social good and development every day. And the one word that kept on coming out was resilience, to help provide resilience in this situation, and taking immense strides to help achieve SDGs, and I would say serving as an inspiration to us all. And in the 3 years that this program has been running in partnership with UN Women, UNDP, and the Wharton School Zicklin Center, we have really hoped to highlight and showcase the women-led small and micro businesses around the world. Karen mentioned that we got 2,400 applicants, and we were able to pick 7 of the champions, which we are honoring today. And they're really incredible. They provide many things like mental health awareness and training in Zambia, connecting citizens with healthcare in Pakistan, promoting climate change and education through game-based learning from my countrywoman, Anissa from Indonesia, connecting workers with e-work and freelancing opportunities in West Bank, Gaza, and encouraging economic entrepreneurship through farming collectives in poor communities in Greece, and skills building for leaders and entrepreneurs in Costa Rica, and enabling access to primary health care services to areas with low access in Nigeria. What's common amongst all of them is about resilience, about social development, and how to function in this pandemic world with remote learning, remote delivery of services, and also I think opportunities to work remotely. And they have really created sustained and meaningful business, and they've also adapted, as we have seen, to the realities of the pandemic. It's really all very inspiring what they have done to support a resilient recovery within their communities, inspiring us all with their grit. So we are really honored to recognize these powerful women on a global stage as they and other women like them around the world. I'm just going to quote some of the things I heard on the video. So that we have a brighter future, yes, that we have no women left behind, and that we have a resilient tomorrow. And let's hope that there will be millions and billions of hope boxes around the world today to inspire us all today. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mari, for those wonderful words. I'd like now to turn to Phumzile Mlambo-Nguka, who is Executive Director of UN Women.
And thank you very much, Karen. It's wonderful to see you. It's wonderful to see you, Marie, and all these wonderful entrepreneurs. And of course, it's great to mark this day of the winners of the SDG and Her Awards 2020. I feel that this competition was made for a time like this, a time where people who can prove their resilience under pressure can actually not just perform, but outperform. So a big thank you to the World Bank, to UNDP, to the Wharton School Zicklin Center for this successful partnership. COVID-19, as we all have said, has exacerbated the inequalities and posed a serious threat to fragile gains made for women's economic empowerment. It is just unbelievable that the hard work of 25 years could just evaporate just like that. But this is where we are. Women are hardest hit as entrepreneurs because we've seen many of them having their businesses collapse. Many of the women are in the informal sector where there isn't job security, where under lockdown they trade in the open air where they couldn't do their normal business. And of course, women who are employed are also employed in jobs that do not have enforceable contracts. In most times, they do not have insurance, they do not have savings, and they are in these sectors that have been hardest hit during COVID-19. So clearly, this has called for a lot of proactiveness and creativity on the part of women if women are to survive. There's nearly 60% of women around the world in the informal economy, but also around about the same percentage of women who are going to be losing their jobs as a result of this crisis. Global supplies are also disrupted, and some of the women who were making a living out of the supply chains that they struggled to be part of, again, have fallen off the cliff. We estimate in a study that we did with the Undp that again in 2021, the women who will fall into extreme poverty will increase significantly. And we are particularly concerned about the women in the 20s to 35s. This is childbearing age, and these are the ones who have many choices to make about unpaid care, looking after their families, or entering the labor market. So being an entrepreneur gives women some choice in planning their lives and hopefully being able to sustain economic activity. I have to say, listening to your inputs about your different enterprises, I'm just excited about how you actually had to innovate on your feet, because many of you, if not all of you, you've actually created businesses that did not exist. You are addressing a very specific niche need in your community, extending services, making them affordable, and being able to earn an income as well. So what can I say? You really are the women and men that we look forward to work with in Generation Equality, which is a partnership of private sector, governments, entrepreneurs like you, that we hope will help us to close the gap that has been widely opened because of pandemic, and has showed us that we really, really need to be in partnership. Thank you so much, and good luck.
Thank you so much, Phumzile. I'd like now to turn to Akim Steiner, Administrator of UNDP.
Thank you, Karen, and greetings to all of you. Marie, thank you for hosting us. It's my pleasure, our pleasure in UNDP to join the World Bank Group, UN Women, the Wharton School Zicklin Center today to celebrate, as we have said, these incredible winners from around the world with the SDGs and Her competition. We are proud to be part of this competition, which acknowledges women entrepreneurship, so central, so critical, and so essential, as we have learned just during this COVID period, but also not only just in COVID, but also to achieve the SDGs, which is always something that I think we're all committed to keeping on our radar. And we have heard already a lot about what COVID is doing to people. And I think in these sometimes troubling or dark times, we need action and we need inspiration. So it's my great pleasure to celebrate, to join and celebrate these women who have harnessed digitalization to connect patients and doctors, increase access to education, create more careers for women in technology. They have championed mental health care and sustainable food systems while inspiring a new generation of young leaders and agents of change. Their skill and leadership in building businesses, as Phumzile just also noted, and boosting livelihoods, to Marie's point, in spite of the pandemic, gives me hope that what we call this decade of action for the SDGs will eventually succeed despite all the setbacks, serious as they are. Dear colleagues, building forward better from COVID-19 means keeping gender equality front and center. And let's be clear, we are still struggling with that in all corners of the world. Because as we celebrate women's leadership today, we also have to remind ourselves of some harsh facts. That while women are at the front lines of the COVID-19 response, making up, for example, 85% of nursing personnel and almost half of medical doctors in some countries, they also carry a greater burden of unpaid care and domestic work. That for many women, the home can often be the most dangerous place to be. And one of the really frustrating and saddening facts of the last few months has also been that violence is spiking behind the closed doors of COVID-19 lockdowns, and in some countries by up to 30%. This is a very brutal fact. And that women have limited access to social protection. Amongst the 4.4 billion people who entered this COVID-19 period without social protection, they are often the front line. They run the greater risk of falling into poverty. And for example, some new research that UNDP, UN Women, and the Center of International Futures at the University of Denver forecast that by next year, for every 100 men aged 25 to 34 living in extreme poverty, there will be 118 women. So far, this is just a forecast. COVID-19, that we know, has not yet changed the future, but it has more clearly revealed the deep flaws in our present system. For example, and as Karen, you referred to it, we are very pleased yesterday, UN Women, UNDP, to have launched the COVID-19 gender tracker. And you'll be pleased to hear, Marie, that in fact, it is integrating a significant amount of World Bank data on social protection, the labor market, and fiscal measures. It highlights that economic and social protection and labor market responses to COVID-19 are so far largely blind to women's needs. Only 18% of the 2,500 policy measures that we have tracked across 206 countries and territories, and it's not complete, but as a snapshot sufficiently clear in what it is telling us, have not focused on strengthening women's economic security or address unpaid care work. Colleagues, it does not have to be this way. And we who are here together today celebrating these women entrepreneurs, including the World Bank, UN Women, academics, universities, we are committed to helping countries across the globe to put women and girls, their inclusion, representation, rights, protection at the center of all efforts to build forward better. For example, as the lead for the UN system's socioeconomic response to COVID-19, in UNDP, we have prioritized gender-responsive social protection and women's economic recovery in over 41 countries. And many of our initial rapid response measures had a design obligation to have explicit focus also on gender dimensions. And yet, in too many countries, it was not easy to achieve that. The pandemic has created, I believe, a once-in-a-generation chance to set things straight. In all the frustration and the setbacks we are witnessing right now, there is the growing yearning for a renewed social contract where social justice and gender equality will be part of what we will emerge with from this crisis. The women we celebrate today, alongside the nearly 2,400 other applicants from around the world, and that, Karen, in itself, I think is a fantastic number, are building that new social contract as we speak, step by step, business by business, with imagination and courage. To each of you as winners, I offer my warmest congratulations, and I look forward to hearing more about how your business ventures will evolve. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Akim, and thank you so much for mentioning the partnerships that are needed to really build forward stronger and to ensure that the women that we're going to hear from are able to flourish. I'd like now to turn to our final speaker to deliver her opening remarks, and that is Georgija Petkoski from the Wharton School.
Thank you, Karen. Very nice.
So sorry, okay. I didn't realize. Okay. Apologies.
This is happening very often. Okay, perfect. Let me start by congratulating the winners that I'm very glad to meet you in person, and also very glad to meet in person my colleagues from the World Bank, UNDP, and UN Women. So now we know a little bit better. Let me start with something much broader in terms of that we are not only celebrating the winners because of good business models, but because of critical importance of leadership role of women entrepreneurs have now in the midst of the pandemic. Which is reshaping and influencing everything on personal, organizational, gender, and global level. Of course, with this kind of pandemic, there is no playbook that is going to tell us what and how to do. And this is what I think the key value of of the winners is, that they demonstrated that to not only strong core business models, but that supported by very clear purpose, values, and sense of partnership with the key stakeholders is something which is guiding them to be equally successful, not only before the pandemic, but also after the pandemic. And that also emphasizes, I think, right now, even more, the critical role of exchanging relevant knowledge and getting access to capacity that helps you to continuously improve your engagement with the changing environment. So that's what I want to spend the next few minutes exactly on that topic. First, let me tell you that my global social impact course students, all seniors at Wharton, and the accelerator at Idea for Action Club at Wharton are already analyzing, studying, and learning from your successful business models. And very soon, I think it's a matter of weeks, when the winners will receive an additional input from my colleagues at Wharton on how to further, not improve, I would say, strengthen their business model, particularly from a perspective of impact, because that impact has to be seen in a much broader context. Impact which helps other women entrepreneurs or other women to take the entrepreneurial journey. Also to inform institutions like yours, meaning the World Bank, UNDP, and academic institutions like the World Bank, through their insights, to better understanding the reality on the ground, how to shape the policies of governments, development organizations, when they are talking about sustainable development goals, or how to help investors when they insist on ESG's criteria that has to shape and reflect the real needs of smaller enterprises. And that insight can only come from you. Let me also mention that now we are, and we will consult with you, the winners, on how to best prepare a series of online executive lectures for you to bring some kind of cutting edge knowledge. This is going to be based on what we have done several months ago in collaboration with Tanoto Foundation in Indonesia. Collaborating with Tanoto Foundation, we developed an executive program for Idea for Action winners in Indonesia. That happened before the pandemic. So they came to Wharton, they spent 1 week in the campus. They also visited the World Bank, but online is still good. We learn a lot in academia how to do the online thing. So we will be back to you very, very soon. Finally, let me tell you, it's not only about lectures, it's about research. We have a major breakthrough in collaboration with our colleagues from Olson Zaltman on understanding the entrepreneurial journey from a human emotional perspective to make it easier for women entrepreneurs, particularly young people, to take their entrepreneurial journey and start changing the world. The last comment in that context of research, Wharton is supposed to be the leading research business school in the world. So we have done also an in-depth understanding on poverty from social, racial, generational, cultural diversity perspective. And I hope that this information will help the winners to further expand their business activities with a higher and lasting impact. One more time, congratulations to everybody, and I'm very, very happy to have a chance to meet you in person.
Thank you so much, Georgija. And I would like to acknowledge and thank you for marshaling the various resources to help our women entrepreneurs to thrive in the coming days. And now let's get to the heart of the program, where we're going to actually be able to talk to our 7 remarkable winners who are going to tell us a little bit more about their work. And I'm so pleased to introduce them. First, in alphabetical order, let's welcome our winner from East Asia and the Pacific, Anissa Hassana Arsad. And I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. Anissa, let me start with you. You're working really hard to change the game in Indonesia. And I mean a game because as a game designer, you challenge stereotypes, you bring environmental awareness to more people, and the whole purpose is to have fun. So can you please tell us, how did your journey start?
Yeah, Okay, so thank you so much, Karen, for the opportunity. So good evening from Indonesia. My name is Anissa Sana. I'm the founder of EcoFund Indonesia, a social enterprise that engaged in science communication and environmental education through gamification. We provide product and services in game-based learning. So back then, I had a very good childhood memories where I played lots of games. And as I grow up, I realized how impactful the game to me and most kids in Indonesia. And I saw that game give kind of effortless and conscious learning, which I didn't feel like I'm learning something. So there was one popular game that taught us about money and property, where we didn't realize that we learn about business. And that moment, I knew that game is more than just an entertainment tool. So during my study, I was introduced by climate change and also how humans contribute to these issues. And it got me thinking, why don't I just mix these two between gaming and climate change to raise awareness? And along with my longtime partner, Namira, now she is a mother of two, we start designing environmental board game. It's called Ecofanopoly. So we were 19 back then when we first invented our first game. And over the past few years, the game has been made in 7 environmental teams and translated into 5 languages and played in more than 10 countries through campaigns and collaborations with IFRC, UNESCO, YSILI, UN volunteers, and many organizations. And we receive many stories from our customers and partners. One of the story that really touching us, that text from our customer, she's a mother where she said that few hours after she played the game with her 8-year-old daughter, and when she got out from the toilet and her daughter saw her and warned her like, "Mom, turn off the lights or you will get more carbons." So she was completely shocked because her 8-year-olds didn't know about this emission thing. So but it's actually this game, we want to bring the real life activities into fun playing, where from this story that we knew playing game can bring complex issues like climate change easier and closer to the young generations. And our journey is like a marathon, actually, rather than a sprint. We believe that the impact of educations might not be seen in a blink of an eye, but it's a gradual improvement that we need to do it consistently, no matter how small it is. And during this pandemic, we're trying to make kind of gradual adjustment in terms of business model, like providing online training services using our games. And we're currently looking for support and future collaborations with all of you here. And please kindly visit our website, www.ecofund.id. And let's have more conversation about climate change in a fun and engaging way. Thank you so much.
Anissa, you have such an inspiring journey. It was so great to hear your story. And I have to say, what I'm super impressed by is that you're engaging the next generation to be the leaders through the education that you're providing in an extremely fun way on climate change and on areas of sustainability. So really, congratulations to that. We'll come back to you in just a minute. I want to go now to West Bank and Gaza, where we have Basma Ali. And Basma, you are bringing hundreds of women closer to their dreams. Your company, G Gateway, supports women's careers in tech. And I have to tell you that this is a topic that is so important right now in the context of COVID, where everybody wants to go digital. But we know that there's a gender digital divide. Women may not own the cell phones or have access to the internet. So fantastic that you're trying to encourage women in tech. Tell us a little bit more about your journey here.
Yes, hello everyone, and thank you. I'm honored to be here. So I became tech entrepreneur because I believe that the Palestinian identity cannot and should not be reduced to struggle. We as a Palestinian in Gaza has been through tremendous struggles, from access to basic human rights and also needed resources to live in dignity and peace. So Palestinians are mainly dependent on aid, 80% plus. Regardless, our potential as very educated population. The illiteracy rate in Palestine is 2.6 in 2019, compared with 25.2% in Arab states. The focus on struggle in the Palestine has limited not only our opportunities, but also our perception to opportunities. When I graduated as a software engineer more than 10 years ago, I found myself among 1,400 IT graduates that year. Nowadays, youth unemployment continued to be chronic, 61% plus in Gaza, and even was higher among IT females like myself, 70% plus. Considering all the restriction Gaza is facing on the movement of food and people, we found a window of hope in IT industry. So far, we are the only woman-led IT outsourcing company and social enterprise in Gaza. We are trying to create jobs and opportunities for our youth and women. Gaza, of course, can do better if we invest in our human capital and to build sustainable jobs and to look to our population as a productive population. That's what G Gateway is trying to do by developing a unique model for a qualified outsourcing hub.
Asma, thank you so much. You are so inspiring for your efforts to create jobs in a really hard context. And it's great that you're focusing on young women and young men. And while you're a pioneer in being the first women-owned company in tech, you won't be the last. I'm sure in the next 5 years, you will be joined by others. We'll come back to you in just a minute. Now we're going to go to West and Central Africa and hear from Funmi Adawara, who has the Mobi Health International, which is a one-stop digital platform that works with thousands of patients to provide health care in Nigeria. Funmi, we'd like to hear from you about how you chose healthcare as a field and how you decided to create your own business.
Thank you very much, Karen. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm incredibly honored to be here, and I want to thank World Bank and partners for finding me worthy of this honor. Making it to the finals alone was good enough, but then proceeding to win is incredibly amazing. Thank you. Well, my journey started from when I was young. As a young girl growing up in Nigeria, I had my own personal healthcare challenges, and that meant that I had to be in hospital most of the time. That exposed me to the sufferings of many people, women, children, the cries of mothers who lost their children to preventable illnesses. And that spurred me, that inspired me to study medicine because I wanted to save lives. When I grew up in the same environment that most of the girls today are experiencing, I was single-handedly raised by my mother, and I went to public institution. I had all the odds stacked up against me. So I'm incredibly proud of how far I've come from having that big dream that has now become a reality. When I studied in the University of Ibadan, Nigeria, and as a medical student, I was very much involved in community healthcare outreaches. I was the vice chairperson for the Action Group on Adolescent Health, and we used to take these outreaches to the rural communities. So I had a first-hand experience of the sufferings of many people. And when I graduated from school, I wanted to make a global impact. And I like many of my colleagues, I decided to come to seek further opportunity in Europe. So I came to the UK about 15 years ago, and then pursued my postgraduate training in Cambridge in bioscience enterprise because I realized that I could make greater impact by leveraging technology. I saw technology as an enabler, and Africa is one of the fastest growing markets in mobile technology adoption. We have nearly 500 million mobile subscribers and 30% smartphone penetration. I just thought it was no longer reasonable and it was indefensible that millions of people will continue to die from preventable causes when the technology exists to change that narrative. And that is why I went into telemedicine. I learned telemedicine before COVID-19, but it was on a very slow pace of adoption, not just in the West, but also in Africa. But as soon as COVID-19 came, everybody started to see the value. So that gave us the opportunity. We served as a catalyst for the adoption of telemedicine, and everybody started saying, oh, you've been talking about this. Oh, that's what you've been talking about. And having that opportunity to leverage our platform to support the national pandemic was really humbling because at that time, hospitals did not want to take patients. Patients were scared of going to hospitals. The fears were real. And being able to have this incredible platform that bridged the supply gap of healthcare professionals, and also served as a safety net for patients, was incredibly helpful and very, very inspiring indeed. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Funmi. I have to say, I hear a number of themes coming through from all of our speakers. I think the future of technology is critical in creating platforms that we can reach scale, really exciting. The focus on the next generation, the focus on healing the planet and people. And I also hear from all of you an impatience and a determination to do more. We had hoped that we were going to go to Eastern and Southern Africa, but we're going to come back to you, Kayumba, because I know you're having tech challenges. We're going to turn now to South Asia, where we hear from Maliha Khalid's doctorate in Pakistan. And this is another platform that connects patients directly with the right doctor. So we're staying in the health field so that people don't have to face multiple referrals. And Maliha, can you tell us what inspired you to develop this time and money saving idea?
Thank you so much, Karen. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. This is truly an important question, one that I ask myself every day as I wake up. And the answer is simple: the people. Sakina Bibi is a 60-year-old woman who lives in the rural areas of Pakistan. For 10 years, she suffered from acute back pain and couldn't care for her family. She had been to 20 different doctors, all ranging from orthopedics to rheumatologists to spine specialists, until she called doctorate. After doctorate, she visited the right doctor right away, which in her case was a pain specialist. And on that same day, she was able to stand on her own 2 feet without pain for the first time in 10 years. Because of doctorate, different versions of this story have happened thousands of times, saving Pakistanis 80% of their medical costs, regardless of income or location. During the COVID-19 pandemic, doctorate again proved that our service is cheaper and easily scaled, covers a diverse need across the complex geographies, and is agile enough to adapt to the urgent changes by servicing over 5 million calls. These successes are not a surprise to us. This is precisely what doctorate is designed for. Doctorate is founded by a group of people with a vision to transform the way healthcare is accessed and delivered, first in Pakistan, and then MENA, and then throughout the world, reducing costs of healthcare, making it easier to scale, improving the quality of care, while being agile enough to respond to the urgent crisis. Before COVID-19, investors were challenged to understand the opportunity. We don't have to make a case for investing in healthcare anymore. This is the right space and the right time. Transforming healthcare will save economies billions of dollars, as projected by multiple reports presented by the World Bank, and prepare us for a future where our healthcare system is agile enough to respond to the evolving needs of the future. So what we have achieved and the reasons we won the recognition from the World Bank, UN Women, UNDP, and the Wharton Zicklin Center is that we successfully transformed healthcare into a service that works for everyone instead of just for the wealthy. I'm committed to continuing working with Pakistan's government, for-profit businesses, and non-for-profit organizations to lower costs, increase healthcare capacity and quality, and ensure quality healthcare is a right for every Pakistani citizen and then every citizen of this world. And as I said earlier, this is truly a solution for the people, by the people. So, and this is me making an ask from everybody who's watching the live feed, if you are working at the World Bank, the Global Fund, or any other non-for-profit organization and have the power to accelerate our work, please talk to us. And if you believe in giving access to healthcare to billions of South Asians in an incredible economical opportunity, but equally something that should exist, and you have the tools to accelerate our work, I need to talk to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Maliha, for being an essential worker and for being a change agent. And we'll come back to you in a little bit on the chat. I'd like to go to Europe and Central Asia, where our winner, Melina Tapransi from Greece, is also on a mission to make good health and good food available to everyone. And like our first winner, Anissa from Indonesia, to have fun doing it. So Melina, can you tell us how to make fun food for social good?
Thank you very much for the introduction, and thank you for mentioning our slogan, which is actually fun food, social good. And I would say that this is pretty much what we do. At Wise Greece, we support the small food producers and farmers to grow and export their products, and we turn our profits into food supplies for people in need. In this way, we actively support the small family-owned businesses in our country. In other words, the backbone of the Greek economy. And at the same time, we are able to provide food to people who live under the poverty line. So just to give you a few numbers, Wise Greece works with 100 food producers with more than 2,500 products. We export in 8 countries, and we have managed to donate more than 50 tons of food to people in need so far. Today, Wise Greece is one of the most awarded social enterprises for our innovative business model and our important social impact. And we are very grateful that today our work is recognized by the World Bank, UNDP, UN Women, and Wharton School.
Wow, thank you so much for those inspiring words, Melina. I have to say that I consider you also an essential worker. Food security, nutrition is so essential. We need to keep food value chains running, and your business, both in terms of your export, but your domestic production and connections in the sector is absolutely critical. Let's go now to Costa Rica, where we will hear from Maricela Zamora about her business, Nuestras Women Connecting, which is doing much more than bringing women together, but is inspiring women as leaders and change agents. And Maricela, please tell us how you started your journey.
Sure. Thank you, Karen, and thank you to everybody that is here. I feel so honored to be sharing this with these 6 amazing women that every time I hear to them, it's like, oh my God, they are really changing the world. And this was how we started. We know that women in leadership positions are able to change the world, and they are changing the world. So there is nothing more powerful than a woman telling her story in order to pursue the change of the world. And like Justice RBG said, women belong to all places where decisions are made. And with this in mind, we have made an impact of 80,000 people so far in our 4 years in Costa Rica, Latin America, and Kenya, Africa, which has been like really amazing to work with all these teenagers and women entrepreneurs and women in politics with the platform that we have created to promote their leadership and to promote their impact. Right now, during this crisis, we know that countries are redesigning themselves, and we are just trying to think about new ways to work towards gender equality and working with all the SDGs. And we are aware that women need to be in these decision-making places, and we are aware that we need to be there. And this is why we created Nosotras Women Connecting, to create a community for women leaders so they can work together and this is a huge opportunity, historically speaking, that women have to be there, redesigning their countries, being part of the conversations, being at the table. and also not forgetting about teenagers and young women. And we created this program during the pandemic for women entrepreneurs, for women in politics, and for teenagers called Soy Valentía. And this has been our fuel with working with women from all the country with this like beautiful strength and with this energy that they have. And we did this in these 4 years with very limited resources, which brings me to my last remark, that investing in women probably is the best investment that we can make to make a better world for these women. And I really want to thank to all the women leaders that we have been working with all these years, to the government of Costa Rica, to the United Nations in Costa Rica, and international corporations that have been part of our program. And thank you to all these women and to our Valentias, our teenagers who are going to change the world, and not are going, they are changing the world today because they are looking in their local governments how to create a better agenda for women and teenagers. And they give us purpose to keep going and to make sure that this world is a better world for women.
Wow, thank you so much, Maricela. Community, connections, and change, it all comes together in what you're doing. So last but not least, I want to go back to East and Southern Africa. I hope Kayumba is with us. Kayumba Chiwele founded Psych Health Zambia, which champions mental health care support. And I have to say, in some of the surveys that the bank has carried out, mental health is a neglected topic during this pandemic. And it is so critically important that we have health systems that incorporate care and attention to mental health and hygiene. And that's particularly true for the frontline health workers. It's true for the victims or survivors of gender-based violence. It's true for people who are experiencing job loss and unemployment, and people who are stressed because of very few options to support their families. So Kayumba, can you tell us what your vision is for mental health care in Zambia?
Thank you so much, Karen, and I hope everybody can hear me.
Yes,
Okay, thank you. So I'm founder of Psych Health Zambia, which is a private facility providing mental health services in Lusaka, Zambia. And if you know of Zambia, we're a developing country, and mental health constitutes a large portion of the burden of disease in our country. And unfortunately, our mental health sector is suffering, and we only have one referral mental hospital in the whole country. And unfortunately, this means that those in rural and remote areas who cannot afford to travel to Lusaka, they remain without any help. And so this is what drives my passion, and this is what caused for us to begin Psych Health Zambia to begin with. I believe innovation is really one of the most effective ways in solving the challenges that we have as developing countries. And so we saw an opportunity to set up a facility that would not only help to fill the mental health gap in our country, but also create jobs for young Zambians. What I envision for Zambia is a Zambia where mental health is prioritized as much as all the other challenges that we're experiencing in the health sector. Secondly, I envision a Zambia where there's increased availability and increased access to mental health services of international standards across the country. This includes rural and remote areas as well. And also rehabilitation facilities will be free and accessible to all Zambians, whether rich or poor. What I envision us doing to begin this is by incorporating mental health services into our primary healthcare system. We have at least one general clinic in even the remotest of areas, but with no mental health facilities there. So if we integrate this and train our primary healthcare workers in mental health care, then at least we'd have somewhere to begin from and then scale up and expand from there. I'm very thankful for this opportunity and very thankful for the mentorship that I know I will receive from now on. Even from the beginning, I've been receiving a lot of mentorship. The ladies are lovely, and I'm very, very excited because I know the organizations that we're now going to partner with are going to put us in a position where we'll be able to contribute to our mental health sector in the way that we're doing so as an organization and as women. So thank you.
Kayumba, this is really fantastic. And one of the things that I appreciate of what you said is we have to integrate into health systems. And so your goal to work with the primary health system is absolutely critical, because we can't get scale if we don't think about systems change. So really appreciate your efforts here. I'm going to ask our participants a few more questions, and then I'm going to turn over to my colleague Raquel from UNDP, because I'm going to have to leave in about 10 more minutes. But I want to come back to you, Anissa, which is, you mentioned earlier that there was a game in terms of that you played when you were about 10, where that sparked your idea to take action. And that was a game about property and money. And you married that with your interest and commitment to the environment. I want to just ask if you have thought about how you are going to be engaging differently in board games, girls versus boys, because we know from the gaming world that girls have different learning styles and other things. And is this a game that appeals to both boys and girls, or have you had to use different strategies?
Yeah, so thank you for the question. It was a very interesting question. So I think from my experience by observing the kids playing the game with me, so can you hear me? Okay, sorry. Yeah, so I think from my observation, I think when it comes to the kids, both girls and boys are actually, they're really excited to play, and they can grab the the tutorial how to play the games, and they can just enjoy the game, and they give same reaction. Like, we sometimes after they play, we just want to see their conversation among them, so it's pretty fun to watch. But I think I mean, from my experience, they both love games, but maybe once they grow up, I think we have kind of different gaming style, where maybe boys more into the genre where like an adventures or like a war, where then the girls maybe likes to play game with like simulation of running restaurant, or yeah. So I mean, we both love games actually. Yeah.
That's super fantastic. And I have to also ask you now a business question before I turn back over to Basma. Did you have any problems finding investors in your business, and how did you get your very first investment?
Yeah, so actually, until now, we don't have any like venture capital as our investors. So we are still running as a bootstrap business model. So, but we receive so many funding support like grants. So I remember I got my first grant when I was a bachelor student. It was from a national bank. And the funny thing that they will give a grant to those who graduate on time, because there are so many students that graduate really late because, you know, maybe they take some jobs and then they just forgot their duty as a student. So actually, I got an offer to that. So we received like a small funding where I used that funding, that grant, to produce my first mass production the game and start to selling it. It was really fun to get this opportunity and try to sell, because at the time I don't have any idea to how to be a business person. So it was fun to try to realize that, oh, my game has kind of a potential in terms of business products. So yeah, it was great experience.
So we're going to watch you grow to hundreds of thousands and perhaps millions of sales with your board game. So we're wishing you lots of enthusiasm and spirit, and hopefully good capital to spur you on. Basma, I wanted to turn to you. You know, you mentioned some of the challenges and in the West Bank and Gaza, and I'd like to hear you speak a little bit now about how you deal with some of the broadband issues, the infrastructure issues, and being in the tech sector. And I'd also like to hear a little bit more from you, in terms of your access to finance and some of your ability to attract investment, grant financing. We support, the IFC supports the Bank of Palestine in a women entrepreneurs program. And we hope that we're making the connections that we need to in West Bank and Palestine. And I don't know if you've had any connections with them, but if you haven't, they're a good place to turn to. But let's hear from you on the broadband challenges, the tech challenges, and then access to finance.
Yes, regarding the internet infrastructure in Gaza, you can maintain a stable internet infrastructure, and that's why we choose the IT industry. Regardless of all the constraints we have, we can deliver in the digital world. There are some boundaries regarding the communication network, like it's only 2G, but that limits only a segment of the services, but not all the services. That's regarding the infrastructure, and G Gateway is trying always to have backups and business continuity plans in order to run even through some closures and emergencies. Regarding your second questions regarding struggles or regarding the G Gateway operating as a woman-led organization, I think that's right. And accessing to finance. Yes, we have been blessed with too many supporters and impact investors in Gaza, including World Bank, international private sector development, and also the emergency program, where we create work on two pillars. One is working on the freelancing platforms to generate remote working opportunities for women and men equally. So far, G Gateway has trained more than 1,000 people and created 150 long-term job opportunities and more than 1,000 short-term employment on the freelancing platforms because of our supporters and investors. And now we are growing in the coming 3 years according to our strategy roadmap in order to outreach more clients and more investors. I have to say, human diversity is a reality, but inclusion and openness is always a choice. So despite having talented and qualified labor, the global IT market, when we try to expand, perceives Gaza with a lot of reservation, if not concern. So that's why we need to build awareness about the potential of our youth and the potential of our women as a productive human capital. And we need all the support to promote G Gateway as internationally qualified outsourcing hub.
This is great, and that sounds fantastic that you've already reached 1,000 people through the platform, and I know we and others are gonna really help you grow and increase scale. I'd like to turn to Funmi, and this will unfortunately be my last question, and I'll turn it over to Raquel after this. But Funmi, I'd like to just ask you, West Africa, I know, also has digital challenges, and how are you overcoming some of those challenges in your platform? And tell me, how are you able or not to work with the Nigerian health system? Do you find support in the system, or I'm sure you're an inspiration because you're finding solutions to help the country's public health system do better. So Funmi, perhaps you can tell us a little bit more about the tech, the broadband, the infrastructure challenges, and some of your goals with the health system. Over to you.
Thank you, Karen. You're absolutely right. There are quite a lot of room for improvement for digital infrastructure because our platform runs on that. And to drive any frontier technology to the last mile, you definitely need to build the right infrastructure. We have developed a proprietary app that operates within a very low bandwidth in the first instance, and it has EMR, electronic medical record, and a video software inbuilt that can operate within very low bandwidth. But importantly also, we have partnership with telecom companies in a way that the cost of the data does not get borne by the client, because the last thing you want when you're doing a consultation is for that to drop because the client has gone out of data. So we built that into our cost model so that the client doesn't pay for that. Importantly, our app is accessible to everyone, not just those with smartphones. We cover the whole spectrum of the population. So we have three delivery channels. We have the smartphone, we have the toll-free lines, and then we have the telehealth clinics that come with solar power and SATCOM, and that we can deploy to rural areas. People can go into the facility and then connect with the doctor. So that takes care of the internet connectivity challenge. But we're also working with a global telecom company that will help to improve internet connectivity to the rural areas. In terms of working with the government, we have engaged with the state governments and the federal government. We have also engaged with the regulatory bodies, the Medical Council in Nigeria. As you probably know, there's no policy right now for the adoption of telemedicine across Africa. And what we're doing is working with various stakeholders to try and bring this discussion to the front burner. We've had some support from quite a number of states because our business model is targeted towards the mid to premium market, as well as the mass market. The mass market can only be sustainable when it's integrated into the state insurance scheme. And that is why we seek to work with the state government and the federal government to make this accessible to the last mile.
That's fantastic, Funmi. Thank you so much. I'm going to say goodbye to all of you now and turn it over to Raquel, who will continue the conversation. Congratulations to all of you once again.
Thank you.
So thank you so much, Karen. And I wanted to join the congratulations. I'm very impressed with what I have listened and with your determination, brilliant solutions. And I think you are a role model for all of us. And I hope you feel like that. That's the next step, right? Because women, we tend to know the imposter syndrome. Is this happening really to me? So I hope you all have this clarity. Yes, this is happening to you. Yes, you are leading. I have a couple of questions coming from people. And the first one, and I'm going to ask this for all of you. Let's try to respond. I will give you the word, but let's try to respond a little bit, in the run. So the first question is, how did COVID-19 affect your businesses, your operations? What COVID have changed and how customers are reacting? This is the first question. So who would like to jump? I can point out someone, but okay. Funmi?
So, we started Mobi Health before COVID-19, and so we had our finger already on the pulse. Telemedicine has been on the very slow pace of adoption before COVID, but COVID served as a catalyst for the adoption of telemedicine. However, because some of the funding arrangements that we had with different stakeholders, the meetings that we were not able to hold virtually had to be postponed. And that had an impact on our timeline for closure and access to capital. We were able to quickly respond to the COVID pandemic by adopting our telemedicine platform to support video consultation, online consultation. We were also able to quickly launch the online screening tool, as well as providing the teleguided do-it-yourself swab test, because we saw the frustrations that people were very scared of going to the test centers for the fear of contracting COVID. So our platform enabled them to have a consultation with the doctor confidentially, but we were also able to send courier to their houses to deliver to them test kits, which we then validate through our platform, and we were able to guide them on how to self-swab. That reduced the need for going to the test centers, reduced the consumption of PPEs. It improved the turnaround time for results. And so that's why we found COVID-19 as a great enabler for the adoption of telemedicine. And that's how we have adapted to the pandemic.
That's an amazing and very good answer, right? How COVID is triggering transformation and through digitalization. So any other winner who would like to share? Marisela, I see you come in.
Yes, Marisela. Thank you, Raquel. Well, when COVID-19 started, so we were like, what? Everything that we do, it's required for people to, get into meetings or get into massive events. And we were like 2 weeks in shock, pretty much. And then we said, no, this is going to affect women entrepreneurs for sure. And this is going to hit really hard on women employment rates, and we knew that would respond as women making more entrepreneurships. And then we had to change all our programs and all the ways how we were functioning, and we created all the digital programs for women entrepreneurs, the training for them as leaders, but also how to be resilient in a times like this. And also our amazing partner UNICEF Costa Rica, we were launching our program for teenagers, Valentia, and we said like, well, we have to change all the plan. And soon after that, we created a whole new plan, and it was an amazing plan because we were going to be able to host more leaders. And this was like the amazing part about technology. Of course, we know there are a lot of technology access gap, and this is why we are working with partners in order to make sure that women from very rural places and teenagers can access to our programs. But pretty much everything we had to change, but we did. We have an amazing team in Nosotras Women Connecting that we created this program for women entrepreneurs and now for teenagers. And so far, we think by the end of the year, we're going to be impacting like 350 teenagers and young women from all over the territory of Costa Rica. And also we will be working around 75 women entrepreneurs, being with them in their new ventures, because some of them, they were starting, and some others, they had to reinvent themselves. So we have been there with them. So we have to change this, and of course we have the challenge of financing because Costa Rica is facing very huge challenges economically speaking, but we have been able to overcome them and to create this innovative answer to work along with women from all over the territory. So we make sure, like, even though you're far from the city, you can be connected in a community of women from all over the country, and teenagers, of course.
Thank you so much. I see coming very interesting questions, and I'm going to ask another question from participants, from people that wanted to listen to you. This is a question from Anna. First of all, congratulations, such amazing work, so inspiring. So her question is, what is the most important lesson you would share with young women who also wish to be social entrepreneur? That's a good question. So over to you. Any other colleague who would like to take this question? Basma, Nisa, Malika, Melina. So colleagues who were not
jumping.
Melina, go for it.
Okay, so really quick advice, I would say. I think that every woman out there who thinks that it's a good idea to build a social enterprise, to build a new business, the best advice, actually stop thinking about it and just do it. And I would also like to say that it's a good idea to have the SDGs as a roadmap, because this is the way that we can build sustainable businesses and resilient businesses by having the SDGs as a roadmap. And maybe have in mind something that Nelson Mandela said, and it's a quote that I keep close to my heart, that it always seems impossible until it's done. It helped me a lot, so I think this is the best advice that I can give.
That's a very, very strong and good one. Thank you so much, Melina. So I have more questions. The next question is, and is not saying who, but is saying, what do you see as the biggest challenge for the future of your business? So I still have Kayumba and Malika, if I'm not wrong, that didn't intervene in this round of questions. The main challenge that you see coming
Hi, Raquel. I would like to take this.
Please go for
Thank
it.
you so much. Thank you, Melina, for sharing the advice. And I would actually like to resonate with what you said and also add to that, to the previous question. Always believe in the power of serendipity. That's something that I've learned in the last couple of years while working. Once you set your goal, there is a way for resources and for support to just show up in the most unexpected times. And now sort of coming back and answering the question Raquel just asked, a major challenge as we evolve and as the world evolves is based on the key learning that we had while working in the COVID-19 pandemic, is making sure that we are really learning from the experiences during this pandemic and then evolving appropriately when it comes to healthcare or education or governance at a local level and a federal level around the world. But mainly for healthcare, because what we have seen is that presenting a united front, and the countries who have done that between the public sector organizations and the private sector organizations have been able to fast track. And so making sure that we have those channels open and we use those channels moving ahead, working with the governments, working with private sector organizations, and ensuring that the learnings that exist in the private and the public sector are being cross experienced and used to progress in a more agile, in a better, more informed, and a healthier solution. Thank you, Raquel.
Thank you, Maliha. Very, very substantive and helpful answer. I have a last question that is a little bit for all, but I'm aware that I have Basma and Kayumba that didn't intervene, so I will prioritize them. The question is, how can women support each other to improve your own kind of outcomes or to realize your dreams or to move ahead with your businesses? How can women support each other? And I'm going to add, this is my salt and pepper, in a very masculine environment as you handle, no? Many of you are in this kind of homogeneous masculine way of understanding leadership and businesses. So how do you think women can support to each other? And I have here Kayumba pending, only if you want. Kayumba and Basma.
Okay, I'm okay to go first.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So from my end, I think the best advice I would give here is not be afraid of partnership. I have found myself partnering with a lot of women in like-minded organizations, as opposed to seeing them as competition. For instance, in my country, mental health is a very small sector right now. Very few people are working in this sector, and very few organizations are providing the services that we're providing. So as opposed to seeing them as competitors, we actually find that it's better to partner and collaborate and do conferences together and provide services together and projects. So please don't be a partner with other women and just show support for each other. Yeah.
This was very to the point and very, very, very smart. Don't see each other as competitors, even you are in the market. But it's a tradition that women will see each other as competitors across the board, not only in business. So I really like what you are conveying here. See women as your partners, because when you add forces, the outcome, let's say, that is stronger. That's for sure. Thank you, Kayumba. I go with you too. So now I wanted to give the floor to Basma.
From my experience from our developing communities, I think women should always think about higher standards for themselves. So survival alone can't be the only goal of people, especially women. So you simply have to accept more challenges and accept more for yourself and create the space to develop yourself and your business. The second advice, or the second thing, I see the opportunities of learning are equally offered on the digital world for women and men. And it's easy to panic and run away whenever there is an upwards or a challenge or a problem. But the thing I learned over time is to seek help and ask and peer refer and just get some time for yourself to talk to yourself, to reflect, and then have a plan to go upwards. And this is how you can overcome a challenge over a challenge.
So thank you. Thank you, Basma. This was also very clear. So don't be afraid, even if you feel fear, because fear is very human emotion. So it's not about not having fear, right? Feeling fear. It's about overcoming. So thank you. We are approaching the end of this amazing session, and I wanted to give you to all of you 5 seconds in one line. What is your take from this experience? Not the awarding experience, your experience going through this trip, amazing trip as entrepreneurs. One line, which is your takeout? What have you learned? Very succinct synthesis. So I wanted to start by Anissa. You have less time than any other, but don't think a lot, just what is coming to your mind, Anissa?
Yeah, so thank you so much. So actually I'm thinking making the right sentence, but I mean, so maybe my sentence is, in this pandemic, I just realized that we all have struggles. So it's actually, we're not alone. And I think what we need to do is just, we can work together and support each other and believe that there will be a silver lining after this, and we can go back, even probably it's not normal, but we believe that there will be an opportunity, a new opportunity in this new economy, probably this pandemic economy. And yeah, I think that's all. It's
Thank you, Anissa. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Raquel. Yeah.
Let's go to Basma.
We are in G Gateway Social Enterprise. We have our slogan that says, grow business, grow people. So when we grow our business, our people will grow.
That's a wonderful lesson too. So Funmi. Funmi? Maybe we lost her.
Can you hear me?
Ah, here she is, Funmi.
Yeah. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you very well. We don't see you, but we hear you.
Okay, so you can see me now.
We see you.
Yeah, it's incredibly amazing and humbling. And I think what I've learned from this entrepreneurial journey is, for every woman or girl out there, is to inspire them to think bigger, to have larger dreams than themselves, and that you should never, ever listen to naysayers. Never limit your dream. It is the starting point of how far you can go. So dare to dream big.
Yeah, that's also very, very inspiring and touchy. I hope many people is listening to all of you. So let's go to Kayumba.
So what I take away from this whole experience is really for us women and every young girl out there to value what you're doing, no matter how small your business is, no matter how small your idea is, just value it, because you don't know who's watching out there. I really didn't even think I was making this much of a difference. And when I came and found myself in a group of such amazing women, and when I see what they're doing, it makes me realize to say, okay, so I am doing something right. So please just value what you're doing. Someone out there is really appreciating it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kayumba. You never know what is waiting for you, right? So, Malika?
Hey, Raquel. I think I'm going to resonate with my fellow awardees and the comments that they have made as well. This journey as being an entrepreneur and sort of sharing the stage with all of these amazing people who are working around the world is really humbling. But at the same time, there's this one saying by Gandhi, which I really follow, which is, be the change you want to see. And so regardless of whether we have the, the role models, if there aren't, then as well just be those role models. Or if we have other people, partners, and they don't exist and we want them, then might as well just be that partner. So thank you, Raquel. Yeah, that's my takeaway.
Thank you so much, Maliha, with the change that you wanted to see. That's really, really amazing. So Marisela is the next.
Thank you, Raquel.
Zamora.
Yes, thank you. So my huge learning has been the power of community in order to achieve big changes. So don't be afraid of looking for your community, asking for help, telling your vision, and inspiring people, and work really hard. And women, supporting women, this is going to change, and this is changing the world from all over the corners of our beautiful planet.
Thank you so much, Marisela. It's also very, very touchy for me, the power of community, the power of the together, the power of the collective. So that's a very strong message, a strong lesson. So the next one and the last one is Melina. Melina, we wanted to listen.
So great, thank you. Through this journey, I'm really inspired by what social entrepreneurs do, and especially women, because we are able to respond to any kind of crisis like the COVID crisis, and we can be adaptable, and we can be resilient, and we can maximize our social impact, and that's a wonderful thing to observe.
So thank you, Melina. I'm going to close, and you put the bar very high for me to close this event. Let me tell you, because you are inspiring, genuinely inspiring. So I wanted to say that my observation is all of you share a strong resistance to accept reality as it is, to accept social injustice, to accept boundaries. That's what I can see in all of you. And you have a vision of transforming reality, making it better, but not only for you, which will be fantastic if it is only for you. Yeah, and I'm not going to say, oh, wow, that's selfish and this is wonderful. It's very, very good that you wanted to improve your lives. But the extra mile is that you wanted to improve the lives of all, the lives of everybody who surrounds you, and in the different experiences. It can be the youth, it can be other women, it can be teenagers. So I was reading, I work a lot on women's leadership issues. So I was reading very recently from Harvard Business newsletter, how women's leaders, and I wanted to say this to all of you, women's leaders emphasize teamwork. They have proven how they lead more than men through inspiration, transforming people and transforming beliefs. That's the most difficult and intangible kind of piece of the human beings to change, and that's what you are doing. You are not just changing, improving incomes, you are changing mindset, and that's pretty impressive. And I wanted to close by saying that women lead, and you all winners lead with really purpose, and that's what it makes you today be here in this global space that I hope is giving you a lot of visibility, because you deserve it. You put people ahead of yourselves, and this is what is going to change the world, and we need it, and we need it today more than ever. So I will close here. Thank you for sharing your parts of your life, parts of your private and professional life. This is also an extra value, and I wish you really, really, really the best. And thank you to the participants for joining this event. Thank you to the World Bank for the leadership, to UN Women, and to Wharton University. So let's continue this story and this conversation. Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye to all of you. See you later.